What fitting music to come back in on. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Thursday, August 24th, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and Game Bites is back. As always, I am joined with my lovely Bill Murray lookalike co-host, Alex Sir McConnell. How are you? How you doing tonight?
I got a new microphone.
Oh, look at that. Look at that. You're gonna give us some ASMR now.
Yeah, just a little Guinness can.
Ooh. Okay, so we're just jumping into the drinks, aren't we? We're just doing that. Yeah, so there's some new things coming to the show. For those that don't know, we're now officially just a show about drinking. Kidding, no. Every episode, we're going to try to bring a new type of beverage that we're going to enjoy. And we're also going to not only just go through the weekly news as we tend to, but we're trying to bring a little bit more fun and laughs because quite honestly, everyone's got a gaming podcast. And I think what makes ours special is that we're friends and we know each other way too closely. Like that one time you, me, and Greg shared a bed in New York. Don't do that. That's another story. How you doing there, Alex? What's new? What's new?
I know the gender of our unborn child. And I just got back from Glacier National Park, so because that's kind of new. And yeah, there's probably more stuff that's going to come up if I remember, but you just put me on the spot and I wasn't prepared to update my life right now. So
well, that sounds like a personal problem. So Alex, you're enjoying a Guinness tonight, which makes sense. It's also stereotypical of you.
Mm-hmm.
I actually heard the other day that like one Guinness a day is actually really good for you.
Because no one's actually just argued it. That's why.
Well, maybe.
I think that's all.
I think it has something to do with like the riboflavin or something. Like there's something about that type of beer that actually has nutrition.
Okay. Why don't you just take riboflavin supplements if you're not getting enough riboflavin in your life?
Yeah, but why do that when you could have a beer? Do you do the 1 chug, 3 chug thing? Like you try to get it all down in 3 chugs?
No, you don't take a sip, you take like a third.
That's cute.
No, I could finish that pretty quick though, yeah.
I'm not a big fan of stouts, but what I am a big fan of, and I know you are as well, is a little Hofbrau Dunkel from the legendary Hofbrau House.
Yeah, man, that's been a while. In the big old stein. What were those, like 32-ounce drinks?
32-ounce drinks for like $10. It's phenomenal.
I think eight for the flagships. It's like 10 for the seasonals.
Yeah, it's great. I haven't gone there in a while, and I want to go there soon. Maybe we could have our diaper party there, although I don't think they'll let us dress up in actual diapers.
You're going to have to get me to explain what a diaper party is so people don't jump to conclusions.
A diaper party is a time for guys to get together and celebrate them having a baby. I explained this on stream the other day.
So those weren't diaper parties that we had in college? What were those?
I don't want to remember. I think there were fraternity parties. We were both in fraternities. We don't have to go into it. Everyone's seen Animal House. But speaking of the Hofbrau House, Alex, I still have many photos of that night of you and your friend, the police officer that you made. But I want to take us to a brand new segment called Best or Bangin'. And
what?
Is it
Best
bangin'?
or bangin'?
Yeah, is it bangin', basically, is the idea here. Is it bangin'? We're going to go through a handful of prompts, such as what's better, Coke or Pepsi? And you got to tell me what you think is banging. All right?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not going to use that one now since I just gave that as an example.
Banging means good, right?
Banging's the best right there.
Banging's best.
So tell me what, in your opinion, is the most banging startup sound for a video game console?
Oh man, because like GameCube's pretty banging, but
it's banging.
The Sony PlayStation, the PS1, is like, I could go to sleep to that.
Yeah, I don't
play that as my final 5 seconds as I go into sleep.
I'm not going to agree with you because I'm agreeable. I would actually say that my two were GameCube and PlayStation 1 that came to mind. Yeah, PlayStation 1 for sure. Like that like I can't even describe it. I don't know if I can play it without getting yelled at.
It's just welcome to gaming. That noise. It's a door opening.
Yeah.
And a little tap on the butt on your way through the doorway.
Little nice pat say welcome in.
There you go. Get in there, buddy.
K-Max in the chat.
The GameCube's just like.
Yeah. You know, one thing I never knew with PlayStation 2 is the towers that were in that startup screen were representative of your save file. Did you know that? So whatever save files you had on your memory card, that's how many towers you would have on your screen.
Yeah, I never paid attention to that because I was always looking at the colored dots.
Yeah. K-Max in the chat says Dreamcast is iconic as well. I don't remember that.
Yeah, it was so iconic. Neither one of us remember what it even looks like.
I remember what it looks like, but I don't remember what it sounds like. But
I remember the controller was so weird. My friend had one. I never had a Dreamcast.
Dreamcast was, I mean, the VMU port was different, but it was pretty standard, I feel like, although it only had the one analog stick, which I think is...
But it had Resident Evil, so...
It had Typing of the Dead, too, with the keyboard.
The second one?
Oh, that's a good point. Yes, it did. All right, so we all agree PlayStation 1 is the most banging startup sound for a video game console ever. That's now science. You can't...
Yeah, update the Wikipedia page.
Yeah, so if anyone in the chat wants to go and update that, yeah, just say Alex said it while he was drinking a Guinness, and that is good. Next question. Best new TV show over the last 3 years.
3 years.
Or just let's make it easy. Best new TV show over the last decade.
Man, I'm gonna put The Expanse up there pretty high if you're gonna go that far back. But geez, man, that's tough. I have like in my head video games in my head, and then you switch it to TV shows. For some reason, The Expanse is the first thing that popped into my head.
Well, then you should go with your gut there. You should go with your gut.
But
I haven't watched The Expanse. I have the books, but I've never watched it. I've heard it's good. I have two shows.
What's your answer?
So, okay. So what I think in terms of like, if the question is most banging show of the last like few years, I think Only Murders in the Building is that answer for me. Really love season 1. Season 2 had some lows. Season 3 is off to a great start. Steve Martin.
Barry's the most banging show for me.
Is that the one on HBO where he kills people?
You could just say the one on HBO with Bill Hader, but yeah, Barry's my favorite show of the past. Yeah, you can throw back a decade. Yeah, Barry for sure.
That's a good one. You know, I would say Daredevil, but I don't know. So yeah, for me, it's either Only Murders or Suits, which I don't know if you ever watched Suits. It's having a little bit of a renaissance. It's a little bit of a renaissance. People are like finding out about it now, but I used to watch it when we were in undergrad. It was fantastic.
Who's that guy that looks like Scabbers from Harry Potter? Like he has the big teeth.
Ah, yeah, the actor. He's plays a character that's kind of like a weasel too, which it's fitting.
So he got typecasted, poor guy.
Oh, 100%, and it's perfect.
They interrupted him storing nuts in a tree for the winter to say, hey.
So the actor's name is Rick Hoffman, and the character he plays is Louis Litt. And yeah, he's like a weasel. He's like a weasel. We have some good options in the chat too. One is Better Call Saul. I know that's popular. Expanse is a solid answer. Father Trekkie agrees. I think that's a blessing. So I mean that's it. Okay.
I know Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul has a strong following. And neither one of them, it's not like Game of Thrones that no one even talks about. It doesn't even come into the conversation anymore because of the horrible plane crash that was the final seasons.
Okay, I was curious where you were going with that. I was just like, wait, what? Yeah, the Starbucks cop.
Yeah, so it's just like, but like Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, I've never watched them, but it has such a strong following. It's just good all the way through. But like Barry's the same for me. It just got better. Every single season it got better.
Yo, I've not watched it.
Yeah, Game of Thrones had a sponsorship deal up in Winterfell. So you have like Starbucks cups lying around, water bottles, and other scenes on King's Landing.
I mean, at that point, you got to make your money, right? That's what it's all about, you know?
Yeah, they weren't making it otherwise. So
Game of Thrones was good until a plane crashed into the castle. That's where I thought, I was like, did I miss a plot? Did they somehow get into the modern era? K-Max says One Piece, which I can't speak to.
You talking about episodes 800 through 1200 or all 1200 episodes, K-Max?
That's a good point. That's a good point. So we agree on startup sound console. We disagree on TV show, but we don't really have an argument. We're not like
I don't
saying
think we have the same taste in TV shows.
Yeah, Well, again, we watched that one show that we all had to get in the bed together in New York City because we were scared. Unsolved Mysteries.
Ooh, Unsolved Mysteries.
Unsolved
I don't think that's
Mysteries.
anyone's favorite show ever, unless they're like Jeffrey Dahmer.
That soundtrack, though, is in my head. If we were talking like best sound from a TV show, that'd be up there. All right. Next question. What's more banging? Would you rather have a hot dog or a kielbasa?
Kielbasa. Banging with sauerkraut. Throw some mayo on there. I'm going to town.
Yeah.
Kielbasa, 100%.
I'm going to have it with a dunkel.
Oh my gosh, kielbasa. Why you do this to me?
Okay.
It's one of the things that I miss, like having heavy access to in Pennsylvania.
Kielbasa. There's some technicalities in the chat going on right now. It's kielbasa versus brat. They're all pork based. I'm not going to differentiate as long as it's not a hot dog. I'll go kielbasa 2 as well.
That's the sequel?
Yeah. No, the kielbasa 2 is the sequel, as always. So we're agreeing on that. And then last but not least, would you rather be at your favorite college bar, which I'm going to guess for you is the Loomis?
Every bar has its purpose. If you're, but what's your? Go ahead. What were you guys?
The Loomis was the place you went to just dance.
Yeah. Good drinks and
with the boys, mostly too.
Yeah, and you would go to somewhere else if you wanted cheap drinks and like absolute crazy dirty dancing, but just pretty much cheap drinks to get really drunk. You go up. What's that even called? Did it get bought out?
Vinny's is no longer there. Vinny's. He mysteriously went back to Sicily like a few years ago without telling anyone. So he's gone. Best pizza.
Yeah, like every bar had its purpose. You went down to Toby's for good food and a wider selection of beers, and karaoke. Like Toby's had their purpose.
Yeah, Toby's is my favorite though because I could go there and have a good conversation. I could go there and get really good access to good beer. They have good food and there's also live music. Loomis later on in life I wanted to avoid, and I didn't like going to anything else because I just felt like I automatically contracted some type of skin disease by walking in.
Loomis or anywhere else?
Anywhere else besides the Loomis or Toby's.
Yeah, because you can go to the UI to get in. Well, I was say University Inn, which is weird because they hated students, but it was locals. If you want to get like the cigarette smell on you without actually smoking, and just discerning looks from locals, like that's the place to be.
There's the one time where Joanna, me, and Aladdin walked into the UI, and I was like, "This is a joke. This is a joke."
Yeah, it's a joke.
Like literally the beginning of a joke.
Problem with all three of you.
Yeah. They all looked at us right away. We're like, please leave. We're like, oh, okay. I just got back from the beach. It was summertime. So I would say for me,
but you didn't answer like favorite college bar or
Hofbrauhaus. Where do you want to go to?
Oh, Hofbrauhaus.
There it is. Bring it all home. That's better or banging, or is it banging? So we're always open to ideas. Chat, if you want to put them in the Game Bites channel in the Discord to give us suggestions on what we should judge. Again, we are not certified by any state bar, but we do have the supreme ruling of the universe behind us. What we say is true. It's a loud sound. I don't know if anyone else could hear it, but I just heard it.
That's just you.
Yeah. All right. So again, Alex, we're going to go through the weekly game news, talk about what we're playing. But one thing too, I want to take everyone down on this road today is 2023 has been, talked about a lot as one of the best years in gaming. And there seems to be an overall energy. Like it's been a really good year. Baldur's Gate 3, Tears of the Kingdom, you got a new Diablo, legacy franchises are getting new releases. People are saying like, yeah, this is a good year. And I tend to agree. Like there's a part of me that kind of feels like I always would say there's never been a better time to be a gamer. Gaming's always on kind of an up end. There were aspects of gaming that get worse over the years for sure in terms of monetization and had them figuring out a good balance there and all that. Some do it right, some do it poorly, but for the most part, it's been a really good year. So that's something I wanted to say. How can I look at this in a scientific manner? So I pulled a bunch of data from Metacritic from 1996 to 2021. For 2022 and 2023, I couldn't scrape it. So I just pulled the games that were in 90 or 80s. Because the way I kind of cut it down. And then I just did some basic data analysis, ultimately. And I'm going to take us through that as well after we go through the news and talk about what we've been playing, just to kind of say, is it true? Could we say with some objective manner, even though the parameters I'm, kind of putting out there to say, this is how we should look at the data, is it necessarily agreed on as like a certified objective way? Can we say 2023 has been acceptable? I'm going to lead it a little bit and say maybe, but we're going to get to that. I got a large spreadsheet. Everyone's going to love it. There's conditional
Oh, his
formatting.
spreadsheet's so big.
Yes. Thank you. Almost as big of a success as Redfall. But with that, Alex, let's take a quick moment to say what we've been playing. Alex, what have you been gaming on lately?
So I am still pumping Final Fantasy into my veins. Whether that's popping into 16 to get some headway on New Game Plus Final Fantasy mode, or Theater Rhythm, because that is like 500 tracks that you have to play each one at least once to get work towards a trophy, let alone get certain scores on some of them. So Final Fantasy music, Final Fantasy game. There was another Final Fantasy though that I was mixing in with that back then. I was like, dude, I'm playing. And I every day, dude, I come home from work, I'm like, let's see what's new in the store, and I just stare at the Pixel remasters. I'm just like, you're not on sale yet, huh? But I'm waiting for it, and then that's gonna be the rest of my year. But besides that, I'm getting a Hollow Knight tattoo tomorrow. One that I've wanted since 2020. So I re-downloaded that game and seen which trophies I needed left for the platinum, and it's like do 2 boss rushes. It's the hardest thing in the game, and I'm like, okay. So I'm working on that right now. And then what's the other thing I had on the sheet? I don't even remember.
I don't. Yeah, I mean, you were just writing down, Mark, I hate you. Oh, Kakarot, Dragon Ball Z Kakarot.
Oh yeah, I played the the 23rd World Tournament.
Oh yeah, they just
Budokai
released that.
Tenkaichi was just came out maybe a week or two ago. It's part of the Dragon Ball story right before Z starts.
Yeah.
And it's Goku after his, well, actually you play as Kid Goku fighting King Piccolo.
Demon King Piccolo.
And then it switches to the World Tournament. It's a very, very short DLC, even shorter than the Bardock one. But I did play the Bardock one too. So I got both of those in the past week and played through them. So that's what I've been playing.
That's crazy that game's still getting content. That came out 2020.
Absolutely. You are 100% right. Because the first DLC was like the lamest, like, guys, here, go have some conversations and you can turn Super Saiyan God now. It was the most low effort excuse for a DLC. Everyone was upset. Then they did the same thing with Blue, and then they launched like a big History of Trunks one, which was like substantial, which was nice.
Yeah. No.
So yeah, they're still supporting it.
That's fantastic. I mean, I remember that was exhibited at E3 2019. I sent you a photo of the Saiyan balls, of the pods.
Saiyan balls.
But Dragon they came out January 16th, 2020. So that's still getting support. That's awesome. And it's typically really cheap now. Like at one point you could buy a brand new on PlayStation 5 and all consoles for like $20. So if I look right now, and I'm pretty sure we said this last time, it's full price now on Steam, so don't buy it there. But you might be able to buy it a lot cheaper somewhere else. It's worth it if you find it on sale, which typically happens right before there's a new DLC bump. So that's awesome. I still haven't played that. Fruit in the chat, shout out to him. He said, of course it was a Dragon Ball Z game. And I want to say, of course it was a Naruto game. Because look at all this stick.
You pronounce it wrong.
I pronounced it right there. Naruto.
Yeah, that's not it.
I don't know how to say it. Listen, I get heat for that, and I'm actually not trying to be a jerk there. I'm trying to say it right now. Naruto is wrong. I get that. Naruto sounds right.
Naruto.
That's a nice Bardock. Was that what is that, a napkin behind you?
Do you really want to know the backstory of these things?
Did I open Pandora's box with that one?
Just tell me that. This is Turles.
Oh, okay. Okay.
The Saiyan armor.
Yeah.
The Tree of Might fruit.
Yes, what a great movie. That was the first Dragon Ball Z movie I ever saw.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, I bought it on VHS. I watched it one Easter. I got Wario Land 4, I think the same Easter. Maybe three. Cool. All right. Well, yeah, Hollow Knight, still not getting a sequel. Maybe one day. But that's awesome. You're going to have to show us the tattoo. Final Fantasy everything. I still need to play Final Fantasy 16 and the Pixel remasters. But let's be honest, that's probably not going to happen anytime soon because I've been busy playing the game of the year for 2022, Halo Infinite. I'm kidding. I don't think that came out in 2022. I think 2021. Halo Infinite's kind of been getting some positive press of late, specifically due to the new season. It's got a lot of new classic maps and new maps, good playlist, and quite frankly, like it's a good game to play in spite of Call of Duty and Fortnite. Like those games I like, but Halo just still feels like the OG competitive online shooter to me. Now that there's a lot of activity in it, and there always was, that's great. And also, I bought a battle pass for that game back in 2021 when it came out. I get to still work on that battle pass when I come back to it now, which is awesome. They have the greatest model for
Oh,
monetization for battle passes. You can buy any battle pass that's ever been released. I can go to season 2, 3, or 4, and you can work on it at your own pace. Like they don't try to have this
that's
artificial.
cool.
Yeah, that needs to take off because that to me
Because
is
yeah, that's
fantastic.
awesome because it's kind of like anti the other ones, which is predatory towards fear of missing out. So I actually really like that. What game does that?
Halo Infinite. You can't
Yeah,
play it.
never mind. Yeah, it's
So no, but Halo Infinite, I it had a slow release. Like it didn't change the world. The campaign was good. It wasn't, it wasn't evolutionary, but it was a Halo campaign, and I appreciated it for that. The gameplay has always been good. I think Halo is this unique game that didn't really have to start off out of the gate super strong. You always want that. But now that it's kind of been a backbone of Xbox Game Pass and the Xbox identity for a few years now that it's still getting built upon, 343 Studios is still getting some momentum with leadership changes and all of that too. I think Halo Infinite might be a game that we actually talk about a lot more going into 2024 as well. Maybe. Who knows though? There's rumors that it's going to get a battle royale and stuff too. Proot in the chat said that he's heard that it might be spun off into its own game too. I don't know, but I do think a new
they're just
mode
trying to
like that.
copy the Warzone tactics.
Well, well, I mean, Warzone's copying the Fortnite tactic, and Fortnite copied
No, I
the.
meant like, but Call of Duty was originally just a DLC for Call of Duty, and then it split off into its own thing.
Sure, sure, and that's one of those things where there's a conversation you could probably have about how do you truly innovate on a game to get younger player bases in. Like my nephew calls Halo a boomer shooter because he's like he didn't grow up playing Halo. He grew up playing battle royales. And so like can you innovate on your core game by adding a new mode that kind of borrows from existing popular modes? I think the answer is yes for established IPs. Like again,
But
Fortnite
the answer is no for uh, Justice League.
so the answer might be no for once you get too many competitors in that space, someone's going to lose, right? Like if Ubisoft comes out with their own battle royale, that might be the loser there. But Microsoft, like with Halo Infinite, it doesn't have to succeed as a battle royale. It could just succeed on its own merit. That might give it a little bit more life, if that makes sense. Same as Call of Duty. Call of Duty has a lot of success with Warzone, but a lot of people go to Call of Duty in spite of battle royale mode, right? So if you're just trying to create a brand new IP and copy off of that new mode or feature, I think you're going to have a harder challenge there. Assassin's Creed Battle Royale in the chat. Puddle Jumper might got it right there. Anyways, so Halo Infinite's what I've been playing. I've also been playing Madden 24. And listen, I go to Madden for one thing. I go to Madden to create a franchise as the Pittsburgh Steelers and get 20 sacks a game and get tons of interceptions and have like an amazing passer rating and just dominate, win the Super Bowl for like 2 to 3 seasons, and then I'm done with it. That's what I go to Madden for.
Did you
This
pay for it?
Yes. This Madden, and my nephew owns it too, and I'll play with him from time to time too, which is a fun time. He crushes me. This Madden, I've only played franchise mode. It makes me angry.
Mm-hmm.
There are so many bugs.
Mm-hmm.
Like a game should not have so much lag on the menu.
Yeah.
On a
Yeah, that's
PlayStation
what I was
5.
hoping you were gonna say, because I was gonna say, dude, I've seen nothing but terrible things. If you say like, dude, this is perfectly passable.
No.
Unintended. I'm so glad you're having trouble. I'm so glad you're frustrated.
70% of the game is me just playing. You're just enjoying my Schadenfreude right now.
This is exactly what I was hoping for.
And then there's moments where like, oh, if I'm like a game's not going well, I'm like, I don't want to have an unperfect record, so I'm gonna quit. Like I'll quit, and then you could say delete the progress. I quit to get on here to get ready, and I was winning, and I was gonna save the progress, but then I deleted my progress. It makes no sense. There's so much inconsistency.
It's so much. Are you on the PS5?
Yes.
It's so much easier. Go to your actual console storage and delete the game from both the cloud and your system storage, and then never play it again. It's so much easier that way.
Yeah, it's really bad. Like there's examples of like I said, the menu just like take 5 seconds to load. I'll click on a game mode and it will take 5 seconds to load. I'm like, this is ridiculous. Then I'll be in the game and I'll pick my play and it works fine. And the next play I go to pick, I'm like, I can't, I'm hitting X. It's like, it won't let me pick X. There's nothing, it just won't let me pick X. Then I'll hit square and I'll pick the square play, but I don't want that play. I don't want to blitz. I want to do a zone 2, Tampa 2 or something like that. So like,
So
it
this
just, I've never had a Madden game do this before. So like, I am not going to sit here and say like, this needs to get patched. It is very poor. And yeah,
they don't care. They don't care.
yeah, people that are going to this for the Ultimate Club, this is why I want ESPN 2K football to come back.
For those in the chat that don't know, Madden is a football game. It's a football game, which is an American pastime. Sport, not the game, not the franchise, but yeah. Oh, there you go. Yeah, he's got the puns now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually, I've never seen that before, but that makes sense. But yeah, it's a football game. So they release it every year. They copy and paste. They update rosters. They don't fix any bugs. They haven't moved on from their Frostbite engine. You know, something that murdered other franchises. But yeah, it's horrible.
And the Frostbite engine's again been used positively on other franchises too. But it's definitely a lack of innovation, and I would say a lack of incentive for an innovation. It seems like anymore with these sports games, which is why I'm happy that at least Football Club is no longer exclusive. Like FIFA's got the right to do whatever they want with that now. So Football Club's going to have a lot of those Premier League teams. But I hope.
Yep. So this is what happens when you lose competition, because Madden, the video game, EA got exclusive rights to the names of the NFL, like exclusive NFL licensing. So there was this other football game that 2K.
2K football was great.
2K4 is like one of the best football games I've ever played. It had like the best franchise mode, superstar mode, everything. But they couldn't make a 2K5 because the exclusive licensing. And so since then, this Madden franchise can do whatever they want, and they have these loyal buyers that no matter what buy it every year because they, you know, want to play in tournaments or want to play with friends. It's just like, hey, the next game's out, let's just buy it, and they don't care. So they can release, dude, they could seriously release a rock paper scissors mode, and people will still buy that game. It's the same thing's going on with FIFA. They literally patched the roster one year. It had like the same source code, and they just had the roster in it, and they released it as a New Year game. So yeah, they don't have any competition, so they don't have to make a good game. They just have to make something that can at least make it to the shelf.
Yeah, this is I've just for context, I've bought Madden consistently most of my life, and this is the one year where I'm like, this is to the point now where there are too many. It feels like too much stuff leaking in the boat. Like just the bare minimum of experience that I want to get out of it. I feel like I can't.
I think that was starting as early as 2015. People feeling that. And it's just been more and more every year.
Yeah. I mean, 2018, 2019, I remember liking.
Reviews still going like this every year.
Yeah, but it's rough. It's rough. But your comment about like Frostbite engine, I to me, I think it's a matter of the developer, because the Dead Space remake, which came out this year, which is fantastic, and that's all Frostbite 2. It's a matter of the EA Sports teams. I think that's what EA Tiburon or Vancouver, whoever. Just not doing a lot with it right now. So that's the game I'm still going to play, because you're saying like, I don't care. My whole thing is I love NFL and I want to play as Kenny Pickett and get 17 touchdowns a game. This is my only option. So I really hope the NFL like gets to a point where they realize like MLB came in and basically said, hey, MLB, the show needs to be on all platforms. That's not the same as allowing other MLB games. But they came in and they basically were able to say, you're not living up to the contract of due diligence to give us quality products. You need to put it in all these places. The NFL would have to do that. Quite honestly, the NFL probably doesn't care.
Ahead of that, people need to stop buying the game if it's bad, because that's all they're seeing is money still come in.
Yeah, I'm of the opinion personally that this is where individuals need help from larger entities. So, like, you know, I'm not saying, you know, Biden go in there and bust him up, but I wouldn't be angry if he just kicked down the door and just shut him down.
Yeah, all together, that'd be awesome.
Anyway, so Madden 24, it's rough. I've said the bad parts. There are things they've done in the franchise mode that are RPG like that I actually appreciate. In terms of just like how you could have press conferences about certain topics, and how you choose your dialogue gives you incentives to how you should perform in the match. And if you perform in that match, you get more experience for certain players. I think that's really smart. But all of the poor execution around the edges just makes it lost in the sight. So it's pretty much dead on arrival. And speaking of dead, the other game I've been playing is Red Dead Redemption. First time. First time ever. Red Dead Redemption on the Nintendo Switch. Runs at 30 frames per second, which is the same as the PS5 version or the PS4 version and the Xbox Series X version. The difference between those two is with PS5 or Xbox Series X, you will get 4K. And with Xbox Series X, you also get the auto HDR enhancement as well, what that system does pretty well. So I'm playing on Switch because it's such a big game. I want to be able to play it in bed or wherever I go. I'm loving it. I never played it before, Alex, and it's written fantastically. Um, it's a good time.
It comes with Undead Nightmare though, too,
yes,
right?
yeah, it does.
Yeah,
And
fun.
for those who have an Xbox Series X, I would tell you to buy the $29.99 version that came out, Game of the Year version. This is really just a port. This is a port. This isn't even a remaster at all. Which I don't. I was playing the game last night, and I'm like going into a canyon. I'm like, this looks good. 2011 was a really good year for games if you look back at that time period, and I think that's because a lot of the foundations of games, a lot of the foundations of open world games and a lot of games we still have in our games today. So that's it. That's the show. I'm kidding. So no, that's
so you guys. We don't know yet.
Halo 3 came out in 2007. Halo 3 was a good time. That was a really good time. News-wise, Alex, it's been interesting. Gamescom is happening, I believe, as we speak over in Germany. I think it's in Germany. I don't know. They're all on holiday for me when I work with them. There's been some interesting news coming out of that. For example, like a Fallout TV show got announced and all that stuff. I don't have too much regarding Gamescom here. I just kind of wanted to take on some of the major beats in the first one. Which I don't know if you saw this when they announced it, but I think a lot of people's initial reaction is, "Oh my gosh, is he dead?" Nintendo's letter to the public about Charles Martinet. Did you see that?
Oh, I saw that too. I thought the same thing. They're like, Charles, is no longer, and I was like, what, with a pulse?
Yeah.
In the real in our realm?
Yeah.
He's just backing out of voice acting.
Yeah, no one really knows who pushed it, right? It could have been Charles. Charles is getting older, right? He could decide that this is enough for me. I want to just become an ambassador. But
you don't think Chris Pratt came to his house with like a plastic knife and threatened him?
I like how it was plastic. No, he definitely came to his house with a plastic velociraptor, like a toy raptor.
This works against velociraptors. All you have to do is stick your hand out, but like low enough, not above your head, like down low.
Just calm him down.
It's not
yeah.
That's a different movie.
Yeah, what was it when they announced Mario Wonder a few months ago? Super Mario Wonder. There were a bunch of people on the internet after that Nintendo Direct that were like, the voice of Wario is different in the new WarioWare game. The voice of Mario is different. And there were some people real like, I don't come out of my basement. And I could tell you for a fact that the frequency is this, and this. It's just like, I don't know, man. Maybe it's just a different pitch on the game. Who knows? But it's true. So the voice actor for Super Mario and Super Mario Wonder.
Use an auto-tune.
He's a great singer.
And a great game player.
Yeah. I haven't watched him play games. But so we have a new voice actor. We don't know who it is yet. I did hear some interesting discussion, which I'm curious to get your thoughts on. Because part of me goes, do we really need to know? Like Charles Martinet just kind of became his own wonder and sensation. Do you think Nintendo's actually going to say this is the new voice actor? I don't know. But I was listening to Jeff Grubb's podcast with Game Mess Mornings, and he kind of suggested like maybe there's a reason for them to do that, given the rise of discussion on wanting to use AI to do all kinds of like basic functionality for developing games.
Just say no to that. Just say no.
I would agree.
Don't emulate this guy's voice.
Just emulate some Italian's voice.
So just record some guy while you're stopped in traffic in Italy. That'll work.
I would guess we find out who it is. I can't imagine they're doing AI, but I don't know if it's gonna have like instant like, oh, this is the new Charles, so.
Have they ever really done that, like a passing of the torch kind of thing for big voice actors? Because a lot of this stuff comes from like 80s till now. And like there's voice actors dying, like there's been a couple Japanese voice actors dying from the Dragon Ball series, and I see it like every couple of months or every other year, and we're constantly thinking, or this person has throat cancer, can't do the voice anymore, so they're training someone to do it right now for Frieza. But like, it's gonna happen more and more because a lot of this stuff that we're hooked onto, or even a lot of these video games and everything, is the past 30 years. Um, so wait, is it 40? Oh my God, it's 40 years.
For Mario?
80s until now.
So for context, Charles Martinet's first voice acting with as Mario was Super Mario 64 and maybe Super Mario Typing. I'm not sure. So it was the 90s for him. But yeah, I mean, think about like Jim Henson. Jim Henson has had multiple voice actors as their famous characters that managed to sound the same. Disney characters, they managed to sound the same. So
Yeah, like
we,
Tigger. I've heard
yeah,
his voice, the voice actor for Tigger, or the same voice. Yeah, the voice actor for him, or a copycat is like in Skyrim, and I'll hear him in like other games too. It's that same voice. It sounds like they're pretending to be Tigger from Winnie the Pooh.
well, Tigger is in everyone. Tigger's me and Tigger's you.
Yeah,
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 that's.
that's yeah.
I never saw the Tigger movie, but I heard it was popular. I'm serious. That was a
Uh, oh, okay. I thought that was like a
no, it was
funny
like a big
different.
thing.
Okay.
So
No, I'm being serious.
I'm serious. It was popular. Anyways, yes. So to that point, like if you really wanted to be a nerd, you could get into the details and find out Kermit was voiced by this people between these years. And so yeah, Puddle Jumper brings up a good point. We'll find out who the person is in the credits. That game's gonna be out in October. If they announce it beforehand, great. But I couldn't see them announcing it beforehand unless it
So
was like
the
something
Mario game
big.
where he turns into an elephant, that's not going to be the same guy.
That's a different actor. That's a different voice actor.
Well, we already heard his voice then.
And
It
that's my
perfectly
point.
passed. Oh no.
People were saying it's different than Charles, and then other people were saying, you guys are high. Get out of your mom's basement and go do something with your life. But those people were right. They were right.
Yeah.
Speaking of being right, one faithful day in October, I called you and said, there's this new mobile game you need to play. Actually, that's a good point. I'm going to switch up. Captain Midnight brings up a good point. Lance Reddick is being replaced as well. And this is all, relevant to the voice actor news. Lance Reddick being replaced by Keith David in Destiny 2. For what's the general's name? I forget right.
No, Savala.
Savala. Yeah. I think that makes sense. When I think of Keith David, I think of the Arbiter from Halo 2. But I feel like he could pull off that similar gravitas.
Keith David does Mass Effect, doesn't he?
He's done a lot of games. He's been in
a guy that sounds like him.
Keith David's been in Halo. He's been in Saints Row, which is great. Saints Row 4, he's great at that. He's in Mass Effect. Yeah, Mass Effect. He's Captain David Anderson in Mass Effect.
Yeah, David Anderson. Yeah. Okay.
He's himself in Saints Row 4. Yeah.
He's also in the movie The Nice Guys, which if none of you have seen it, you have to go see it. It's such a good movie.
Haven't
Ryan
seen
Gosling and
Russell Crowe.
Russell Crowe.
Yeah.
But Keith David's in it.
Yeah, so that's another voice acting tidbit that he's coming in to fill the shoes of Lance, which I couldn't think of a more perfect alternative. And I think the Bungie team handled it well. They had a nice announcement about it. No one was freaking out about Keith David potentially moving on with the article the way they did the Charles Martinet thing. But yeah, so who knows what they do with the General Zavala character? The Last Shape comes out, I think, October or something like that. I'm messing it up. This could be like they could take Zavala away, but at least there's someone handling it who 2024 is when they have some.
Just maim him and have his voice be different. Just like have an attack on the stronghold, and he's just injured and just sounds different.
He's just mute. He sounds like
he's
Gilbert
a Titan,
Godfrey.
should have armor, should have a force field, but he's gonna get injured and his voice is gonna change.
It's just like Gilbert
I'd
Godfrey.
rather them just own it as a different voice actor rather than him trying to pretend to be Lance. Like then it would just be, off-putting.
Yeah,
it's not gonna be the same.
I feel like the Arbiter and General Zavala, they have like I said, a similar gravitas to him. So
well, that's why I think no one's freaking out about this because we know Keith David's really good. This isn't like they're just gonna randomly be like, by the way, LeBron James, He's in Destiny now. He's taking over Zavala. We'll be like, why? This just sounds like you're trying to get clicks. They pick
Yeah.
someone at least they know, or
Yeah.
we all know, is really good at his job.
And I think a fan favorite. I think a lot of people like and love Keith David. So
You know, they could have done the voice actor for Sid in Final Fantasy 16 for every character ever in the rest of my life, and I'd be happy because that makes me question things about myself. You haven't played it yet, though, so you don't know how buttery Sid is.
no, but I've heard he's buttery.
He's
Not,
he's buttery.
I've heard he's buttery.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is bacon butter. There's some agreement in the chat. Sid is awesome. Sidolphus.
Yes, Adolphus. He's so good. It's just a surprise.
Yeah.
Such a good game, though. Such good music.
Well, speaking of surprises, the hit game of the year for Alex McConnell, Marvel Snap, has now officially released on Steam.
Last year.
It's now got widescreen mode. Was it last year? No. Marvel Snap is now available on Steam. The popular mobile game can now
No,
be.
that's
Oh,
new. But I'm saying the
yeah.
game came out last year.
Yeah. So this was a part of the Gamescom presentation. This article is from Chris Julian at Video Game Chronicle. As announced during the Gamescom opening night live presentation, the PC version of the free-to-play battle card game is now available to play on Valve's platform, which there's a separate account. Like you don't use you log into Marvel Snap, right? I'm curious about how crossplay would work. Like, would you have your same progression or no?
I have no idea.
You're the expert
I
here,
would
dude.
assume it's tied to the device because I don't remember there being any login or anything. But you're asking the wrong person here.
I'm gonna Google that cross progression because that would make me sad. Yeah, it does. It supports cross progression and crossplay, so that's cool. That's actually great, right? Because the more player bases it can tap into on different
Yeah.
devices, the longer that game's gonna live. So that's really good news. Are you still playing that?
No, I dropped off. I was in one of these podcasts. I mentioned it, but I think it was back in March or April because it got so. And I surprisingly in the link that you sent, it was something the developers have actively noted that it was almost every month. It would take so long. The season would take so long. Like if you were playing, I would say honestly, if you're playing casually, you would finish the season in like 2 weeks.
Okay.
If you were playing hardcore, probably finishing that season in like 1 week. But the thing lasts 4 weeks. It's for people who are literally just like popping in. You're like, yeah, I'm popping in on lunch. Maybe you'll finish it in a month. Maybe it'll be a nail biter. But it would take so long. But almost every single month there was like a new meta, and it would just take so long for them to not even a meta, just straight up broken cards that would need some balancing because of something that they didn't catch ahead of time. And so every month it was that same cycle with me though. I was like playing, I was like just trying to climb the charts, and then I keep facing someone against a card that I don't have around a deck that I can't build because I don't have that card for the meta. And I'm not saying it was a new card. It's just that the team that's formulated around it or something that they can exploit with this new card. Even though the new card might not be like a rank 6 card, it's like rank 3, but it's like an exploit you can use. And I was constantly, so I hated just like playing and be like, every time it got to turn 6, I think it was.
Okay.
They're always jumping this trump card that I don't have or just came completely out of nowhere. And it was just like, it went from, I played it for 5 or 6 months before I started just getting frustrated with it. But that's actually one of the things they're addressing in this Steam launch, and what to fix is instead of monthly, they'll still do monthly releases, but they said they're going to actually do weekly, kind of on the fly
Balances.
Up balances and updates to the game to kind of combat those gripes that people are having, because it wasn't just me. I fell off. People are still playing it, obviously.
It's super popular.
Maybe it's because of sunken cost fallacy, or but it was a very fun and addicting game that you could just pop in and play for like 60 seconds and pop back out. So that was like, it was super convenient, but eventually the frustration, I'd be playing, I'd like lose 10 games in a row because it's just some random card that would appear on turn 6 and just ruin everything.
Like Nimrod.
Well, I don't even think he was ranked 6. No, that was like a turn 3 card that they were constantly destroying over and over again. But that's the same thing as just you would learn a new exploit. So, but I did play it for like 5 or 6 months. Just, hey, going to bed, and I'd play it until I fell asleep, And it's like, so I would recommend it. But if they fixed that, then maybe I would have never fell off, because like the balancing, people would say like just look at this. This is insane. Um, so
Well,
yeah, and I haven't played it since then.
I could tell you that there's going to be a natural trend here. Now that it's on PC, more people are going to be able to stream it easier. There was ways you could stream it from your phone device or your tablet, but PC is going to enable that to get
Yeah.
done easier, and that's going to create more excitement about it online. So, yeah, I hope they do a better job, at balancing it. And yeah, again, you were really hyped about that. I don't believe you spent any money on that game either, right?
Mm-mm.
So that says a lot. Like it's not like a game that was giving you active
No, it
spyware.
wasn't. It wasn't needed because they're okay. So technically, you can pay money for variants. Like, okay, cool, you have a Captain America card, but you want Captain America wearing a tuxedo? You can like pay for in-game currency. But then there's also a lot of in-game currency that you build up over time, and you can save it, and you can like purchase brand new cards. Like it's this currency that builds up over time just by playing. Um, and you'd be like, man, I never got the She-Hulk card ever through the progression. Like there's a linear progression as you rank up. You can just purchase the card with this currency. Usually that kept up. They do kind of monthly updates where they'll bump like, oh, Noel was a rank 6. Well, guess what? Now he's rank 5. He'll be easier for
Yeah.
people to get earlier so they can use him.
Okay.
But you can also just pay money to get some currency to buy these like variants and packs and stuff like that. Sometimes the ranking up is locked behind you upgrading cards. So like if you have no more cards to upgrade, but you need to rank up to unlock cards, you could pay money to get more variants so you can rank up those cards. But every season, if you get to this season pass, if you get to 50, you get the new monthly card anyways.
Okay.
But you can pay money like $5 to get it earlier. So
Yeah. As Puddle Jumper
but you
says in
didn't
the
need
chat,
to.
I love solving my problems with money.
Yeah, what doesn't cost money nowadays?
Pretty soon we'll be
Yeah.
paying for the air.
Yeah.
Okay, so I
They
mean,
have oxygen bars.
they do have flavored air now too. It's like, do you not want a vape pen, but you just want to suck on something? Just like, oh my gosh. I want to check it out again. Right now I'm playing my Switch at night, but it caught my eye. I might install it on Steam and see if I have my progression. A few more things before we get into the data analysis section, the most riveting section out there. Speaking of remasters, we mentioned the Red Dead remaster. There's been some new news about remasters as well, around a handful of things. One, Metal Gear ports. So not the full-on Delta remake of Metal Gear Solid 3, but the Metal Gear Solid collection that's coming out. Um, people are upset, and this actually does surprise me. Is that it's not going to actually have 4K on Xbox or PlayStation 5. It's only going to be running at 1080, 60 frames
60,
per
right?
second. Yeah, 60 frames per second. Now there could be reasons for that technically aren't known to the average person in terms of how they're bringing this game, but it will only run at 30 frames per second on the Nintendo Switch, which again, I don't know how optimized this game is or what state this game is in. It definitely is.
I don't think anyone wants to see a 12-year-old game at 4K. It's gonna look ugly and muddy as hell.
Yeah, and that's a fair point. The fact that it's not going to run at 60. I mean, this is Metal Gear Solid
Oh, for the
1,
Switch.
2, and 3. So these are games, but all of three of them will only be limited to 30 frames per second. I don't know what's going on here. I'm curious to see some of the developers I follow to kind of take a look at why that's the case, maybe. I'm guessing it's something to do with the optimization of the build and how the port works. But I'm playing Red Dead Redemption at 30 frames per second on Switch, and I'm very happy with that. Puddle Jumper makes another good point in the chat, similar to yours, Alex. I love it. Yeah. So, I mean, my whole thing with this was like, I hope they change the controls. I don't think they're doing that. So, like, to me, that's going to be the hardest part of me getting into this is the fact that, like, I'm going to have to play those original controls. And I try that
controls.
kind of. Yeah, kind of. That's
Oh gosh,
that's what
worse.
that's how I would compare it to. I'm sure 3 plays better. But yeah, so that came up, and then man, this company Night Dive. Night Dive is a studio that's been remastering games left and right for a while now. Recently, Quake 2 remastered. That was awesome. That was at QuakeCon back in the beginning of August. That they announced Quake 2 was getting the full remaster, and it was really done well. Like if you owned Quake 2 on Steam, that version you own was just going to be updated to the new version. So full on remastered 4K, all that good stuff. It brought up a lot of excitement. people are wanting boomer shooters and arena shooters to make a comeback. I don't know if that will happen, but Night Dive has published new games left and right. They remastered Turok 1, Turok 2, and they recently announced um, that Turok 3 is getting remade. So this just came out the other day. Which did you play the Turok games, Alex? N64.
Only that
Yeah.
attempt at one on like the PS2 or PS3.
Okay.
Mid 2000s.
They put it on PlayStation?
There was a version, not a port. It was like a brand new, like, hey, we're gonna try to do Turok again, and it failed horribly.
Oh wow. Interesting. Interesting.
I don't
It
think
was
just
it was just
PlayStation. I think
called
it was.
Turok. Yeah, okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, Disney Interactive Studios published it back in 2008. That's funny.
There you go. Yeah, I'm into that.
Yeah, Turok was like a really cool game. Had a lot of attitude.
Mm-hmm.
Back when it came out on N64. So, yeah, they also recently remade a System Shock remake as well. So they're remaking games left and right. But here's the exciting news. So Puddle Jumper brings up a point about why would you want to see an old game in 4K? That's a great point. Those assets were optimized to be viewed in that manner you were viewing it at all those years ago. For example, um, when you play games on the Super Nintendo or the Sega Genesis, there's a reason why enthusiasts highly prefer those traditional televisions to play them on because the pixels were optimized to be on that type of screen. When you play them on a new HD screen, it gets stretched out, the water gets drawn out, and all of that stuff. So, that being said, what if you've remastered the assets? And that's what Night Dive Studios is doing with one of my favorite games from my childhood, Dark Forces. Star Wars Dark Forces. Did you play this game? Oh my gosh. You're going
No,
to
I was
love
too
it.
busy playing Super Bombad Racing. What year was this?
This was 94, I want to
Exactly.
say.
Super Bombad Racing. Late 90s for me. I was
Oh my
like,
gosh.
episode 1. You actually guessed that, I think. When me and Cameron were quizzing you, like, guess what Star Wars game we were playing late 90s? And you were like, all right, hold up, what year? Okay, oh, was it a racing game? Okay, well, it wasn't pod racing. Was it Bombad Racing? We're like,
Yeah.
how? No one else heard about this game.
Oh, that game was in my head. I saw it at Electronic Boutique in the Monroeville Mall when it came out, and I
Yeah.
was enhanced. Yeah, it was the first person shooter game I played as well. Um, you laughing because of what I said, or
I think you said I was enhanced. I was like,
I
oh,
was
okay.
yeah, I was enhanced by it in lots of ways. No. Yeah, so Dark Forces I think originally started off as a mod of a Doom file. And it's basically the Doom engine but in Star Wars. And this eventually went into the Star Wars Jedi Knight series, which turned into the Jedi Academy series, which were some pretty popular games. And it's just a great game. So what they're doing here is they're giving you brand new assets. There were cutscenes involved as well. They're redoing the cutscenes, and I watched the trailer. If you're a Forces fan, go out and watch the trailer. They do like side by side comparisons, and it's nice to see them putting a lot of love and care into this old game. Like the cutscenes were awesome. So you watched The Mandalorian season
Yes.
2, right? Or season
And
what?
one.
What was the
And three.
one where like that big reveal at the end? That guy came and saved them. Remember that? Was that season 2? I think that was season 2.
Oh, that was the end of season 2.
Yeah. So what was coming after them that he took care of were what they called the Dark Troopers, which were like these.
The big armored.
Yeah,
they were mechanized, right?
they were mechanized, big dark troopers, stormtroopers, right? They were originally introduced in Star Wars Dark Forces.
Okay.
So that was the first time they ever came out and expanded canon, expanded universe, and I was so pumped to see those in The Mandalorian. And now you're going to get to see those in their original setting in 4K glory, probably like 700 frames per second because this game is I don't know, probably 120, 160, whatever your computer can handle. It's just a really fun game. You go around, you shoot things with lasers. Like I said, the second one they give you like a lightsaber and you start to become a Jedi yourself. And then in the third one, you start to work with like Luke Skywalker rebuilding the Jedi Academy. It follows the original New Jedi Order timeline, not this new Disney stuff where Luke turns into a freaking Schmeagle out of nowhere. So I'm excited.
Dude, that's what blue milk does that to people. That people don't know that you just drink too much blue milk.
Man, I love Star Wars, and I can't look fondly about those movies anymore. Like I was charitable for parts of them, but I just can't believe what they did to Luke. Even Luke said that's not my Luke. Yeah. I'll drink blue stuff all the time though. So that's another remaster. Night Dive Studio is putting out boomer shooter remakes left and right, and I'm all for it. You need to play Dark Forces. Two more bits of news, and then we can switch to the analysis conversation. So we all know that the Microsoft Activision deal passed the request from the FTC or whomever to put a hold on the merger. So from a North America perspective, it was allowed to come to a close potentially. But the UK CMA is the one kind of blocking it with their stance that the cloud market would be a competitive threat. Therefore, they need to do something against that. So Microsoft recently announced that all of their Activision games on cloud will be exclusively licensed to Ubisoft for the next 10 plus years or something like that. So Ubisoft will be the
studio.
Ubisoft will be the distributor of Activision Microsoft games on cloud. So I don't know enough yet. I'm waiting to get clarity. There's a lot of conjecture. A lot of lawyers like, well, it depends what the contract says. I'm like, yeah, a lawyer will tell you he can win any case.
Oh, really? Does it really? Is that how contracts work?
Yeah.
Good job, lawyers.
So I can't tell you now, like I haven't seen a certified answer if that means, like, from what I can gather, it seems like Xbox Game Pass, console and PC, you'll still get it through Xbox. But if you wanted to play it through cloud, you're going to be getting it for Ubisoft, which the main move here is that ultimately this will let UK CMA approve the deal because that was their main holdback. They said Microsoft made enough concessions. Now that this should be another concession, who knows what happens? So I don't really care at this point. Like to me, it's over. But that was big news. I think they made like 30 million or something like that. Like Microsoft made money by giving Ubisoft the rights too. So Microsoft's like in this position where like, yeah, whatever. This is a good compromise for us. So it is what it is. It is what it is. And the last bit of news I want to talk about, Alex, which I don't know how much you've looked into this, but we finally got a price on the Project Q Sony device.
Yes, I did look into this.
And it's going to come out at $199. It's going to be capable of 1080p resolution, which is fine for a screen that small, and 60 frames per second, which is as high as the PS5 will go unless you're playing on a 120 hertz television. And it's only going to be for remote play, no cloud streaming. So how do you feel about that?
I was a little more confused about, like, so this PlayStation, what you call PlayStation Portable?
It's called PlayStation Portable. Portal. PlayStation Portal.
So this is a 8-inch display with it's a PlayStation 5 controller, but instead of a touchpad, you have this big 8-inch screen.
It's a PlayStation 5 controller attached to an Android device.
Yeah. So I can't really see, other than maybe slightly bigger screen at this point, how this is any different from someone actually having a cell phone holder on a PlayStation 5 controller streaming their game. So they have to prove that there's like less latency than that. So the $200 price point though, that's what I was confused about, because like alongside this, they're also announced a headset, like a PlayStation headset, and they tried to say like, oh cool, look at this, and it's like I think $250. And then they have these little earbuds that are $200. And I thought it was like laughable that they have these little tiny earbuds, $200, or this controller with a screen that can play games, also $200. And I didn't know if they were like, that's actually how much it costs to, make money off of those, or if they're just like, AirPods are $200, so we should just make these $200. So I just thought that was weird that they're just, these price points with these devices just don't seem right. Yeah. But I think for market penetration, that $200 on that portable, people are like, I could save $200 and just keep doing remote play with my phone, and have a more comfortable controller that doesn't have the battery life of a match that I'm using to light a candle. So I don't know. I thought 150 would be a little bit, I'd look at it more with a closer look, but it's not worth it. I understand it's like for people, a lot of gamers right now, especially you and me in the next year, are going to be sharing TV screens more often, and it's just, we want to play PS5 games, but not take up a whole TV. So sharing the TV is like a good thing, but I just don't see how at this price point for what they're offering, and they cut their target gaming audience in half. I don't know if it's in half with just remote play versus cloud streaming. I don't know. It seems so weird. It just seems like it's gonna die because of just some random handicap that they put on themselves before launch.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, what you're mentioning there is the backbone, right? The backbone device is $99 for Android or Apple, and I do believe for Android it allows remote play as well, which makes sense considering that they ultimately have an Android OS device for this PlayStation Portal. To me, I'm not surprised at that price point. I think that's as high as they could possibly go. But I feel like PlayStation's kind of, I don't want to say in a state of hubris, but they're the market leader right now. For console games, they are the market leader. So they're making decisions that are both kind of shrouded by a confidence because they're the market leader right now for this generation, but also with we don't have to bend that much. Like if you want this, you're gonna have to do this or do the backbone. We don't care. We still kind of win, right? And I imagine they don't want to make this hardware as a loss at the moment, right? They're not trying to get more people into that
They,
position.
if anything Sony does ever, it's making things at a loss and trying to recoup it up after the fact. So
Yeah.
it's nothing new. Come on,
So
Sony, just keep doing it.
yeah, just keep doing it, right?
Just
So
keep doing it, buddy.
to me, what I think comes down to is this device, if it's completely trimmed down and optimized for remote play, will this give you better performance than you could get on your Android device doing a jawbone for 99 or backbone for $99?
That is not something they have said out loud that is the case.
No one
So
knows yet. You're gonna have to wait to get reviewers. I would say wait till you see reviewers who aren't get given the product ahead of time to test it out.
no,
But
but it's funny. They easily could have used that as a selling point right now in their initial pitch. Like, look, this is the difference, but they didn't because they know it's not.
yeah, yeah,
They're gonna wait for reviewers to do it, but at that point, maybe people already they already have it in their head. Hey, maybe I'll just save up and get it no matter what.
yeah,
But they didn't put those metrics. That would have been a great advertising point. But
and it's hard to do that too because it all depends as well on your home Wi-Fi, right? Like we just got a brand new router for our setup, and it allows greater bands of Wi-Fi speed, like 6G or something like that. I don't know. And like that's definitely going to impact the quality experience you have on your handheld. So like I could see from a marketing liability perspective, they don't want to come out with some guaranteed number that you're going to hit simply because of
just
it.
on average kind of thing is all I was looking for.
Yeah, and who knows, like it could be bad, like you know what I mean, like it could be worse than we could imagine. So I don't know. Cloud devices that I've heard are good are like the Logitech G Cloud device, which comes in at $300, but that also plays everything. Like you play your Xbox games, your PlayStation games, all that stuff that way. Um, it's interesting. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I might try it out and return it like I did the Asus ROG device. I don't know. The interesting thing is Phil Spencer was recently in the news basically saying like, "Oh, mobile is still big with us. And so like we're going to keep partnering with more and more hardware manufacturers so we can have multiple people giving you versions of portable Xboxes. Game Pass on PC is going to work for that." Um so Microsoft sees their avenue into the portable device as letting other hardware manufacturers take the blunt cost, and they're pursuing it. This is Sony's way of pursuing it at the moment, alongside, or you could just use a backbone or another cloud device to access it as well. It's interesting. The other thing too about this device is you could only play games installed on your PS5. You can't play cloud-based games at all. So if a game's a cloud-based game that you're
Yeah.
going to stream, you're not going to be able to play it. So like a lot of those PlayStation Classic games that are still stuck on cloud streaming, you won't be able to play on this device too.
And I think that was a conscious decision of here's the latency we're considering acceptable for this portal. All right, well, here's the latency of the portal to the console and now to the cloud. And they're just like, we can't do that.
Yeah.
It might even be like a full half a second or a second at that point. And they're just like, let's just say no.
Yeah. I do like how they also say PSVR 2 games can't be played in this article. I'm like, well, of course. Like, what do you think's going to happen? Like,
Just hold it really close to your face.
I mean, the Nintendo Switch gave you the Labo to do that. They're like, yeah, here's some cardboard, put it in, and now VR, you got VR. Like PlayStation, yeah. So I don't know. Again, I'm curious because to your point, like I love the Vita. The Vita was awesome. It's a shame what happened to the Vita. I think a lot of people feel that way about it. And I do think there's a space for a PlayStation device. I would probably pay $300 to $400 for a device. And again, as like NVIDIA Tegra processors get better, as mobile chips get better, and mobile systems on the chips get better, like there could be a time where a generation or two from now where portable devices at a decent price can have somewhat of a level of parity with their console counterparts that allow you to play games natively. I don't know when or if that happens. I just think that that's a future where we could see where you no longer have to buy like a PS Vita version of a game and a PS5 version of a game. You just play it on your portable device and it runs at a lower resolution and maybe lower frames per second, but you can still you're playing the same game. You're loading the same piece of software up and you're playing on that same save file. Like I
The
think
only
that's
reason,
a future that could happen.
the only way I think they would actually pursue that if there's full implementation or I guess implementation of a Google Play Store or Apple Store that allows people to play mobile games because that's still like the highest revenue games are making right now.
Yeah.
And so if this PlayStation portable device in the future also can play any mobile game that you can put on your phone, but you have a bigger screen, easier controller. That's the only way I see it because they still look at their current library and they're gonna be like, oh, if they're just gonna just play it on their big screen anyways, then we don't have enough of a library to do this. That's why I'm assuming the Microsoft thing with the Game Pass is doing pretty well, or is it not?
Yeah,
Is Sony seeing that that's not really something people are grabbing or what?
Game Pass in general has been successful, and I think it's a shift of they're ultimately doing two different strategies, right? Microsoft doesn't see itself restricted to like the Xbox isn't just a console anymore. It's a suite of services. You have your console, but you also can play your Xbox games on this Asus device. You know what I mean? Like it's trying to be more than that, and that specifically goes back to Phil Spencer basically saying we lost the worst generation we could lose, which is the PlayStation 3, Xbox 3, or not PlayStation 3, Xbox One, PlayStation 4, Xbox One generation. Sorry.
Where'd they
We
go?
yeah, that generation was the worst generation from them to lose because that was when consumers started to buy their digital libraries. And I know you said that like that doesn't seem like a big holdback for you, but it does suggest I would think that most people, if I have a digital library on PlayStation 4 that I can play on PlayStation 5, I'm just going to get a PlayStation 5. I don't want to lose access to all those games. And the
Yeah.
Xbox One was just not that great. So this is definitely a different play for them. So Game Pass is good. Game Pass on PC is great. Like I was just talking to my friends, I was just like, "Hey, are you going to play Payday 3?" People are like, "Yeah, like Payday 3." I don't know. Did you ever play the Payday games?
Mm-mm.
No. I've only
I
eaten
don't like
Payday
clowns.
bars. Oh, there you go. Yeah. I've had a bad birthday experience with them. But like I've never played Payday, but I was talking to my friends who are like, "Oh, well, I don't know if I want to buy it. You could buy it on PlayStation, but it's going to be on Game Pass for PC and Xbox right away too, and it's going to have crossplay." So, like that is as a subscription service is doing really well. Sony's still trying to figure out what they're going to do to counter it. But I mean, PlayStation's still in the lead. Um, the thing I wonder about PlayStation, Alex, is you and I both agree PlayStation has the best first party.
Yep.
I mean, first party, single players,
Yep.
like very like AAA story developed games, right?
Hmm.
But Sony themselves realizes that's a limitation in the long run because they bought Bungie and they're buying other studios to help them get more into the games as a service multiplayer
Yeah.
game, right?
Yeah.
Like
Still trying to fill the moneymakers.
well, so like, if I say Xbox, you think of Halo. Halo is a competitive online game that people play on PC and Xbox. When I say PlayStation, what's that game for PlayStation?
I had like four jump into my head: Spider-Man,
No,
God
no,
of
no.
War.
Competitive
Sorry, what?
online multiplayer games. Games that you play with large player bases across, like games that you play with online all the time. Call of Duty. That's their answer.
Yeah, Call of Duty's the only one. I thought you were trying to think first party only.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's the thing. There's no first party game. And so Sony's trying to get into that space where Bungie could help them develop some first party games of that nature. That's why Bungie's helping them. Like there's that Horizon Zero Dawn.
Wasn't Destiny a PlayStation exclusive early on,
I don't
or still
remember.
is?
No, it's not a PlayStation exclusive. Um
PlayStation 4 when it launched. Wasn't Destiny just on the PlayStation 4 at the time?
It's a good question. Was Destiny
They
exclusive?
were advertising it before the PS4 even came out.
Oh no, it was PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, 360, and Xbox One all at the same
Wow.
time. Yeah.
Okay.
But they own Bungie, and they don't want Bungie to make console exclusive games. They want Bungie to help them. Well, they don't want Bungie's game to be console exclusive, which I think is smart. Like the Marathon game coming out is not going to be console exclusive. That has such an established appeal already. Like it's smart for them not to restrict the player base, especially if it's an online multiplayer game. You don't want to limit your player base to one console. But they're also asking Bungie to help them make multiplayer games of that nature on existing IPs. So like supposedly that Horizon Zero Dawn game got kind of shut down because Bungie came in and was just like, yeah, this isn't in a good place. Like this isn't fun. So like Sony's trying to pivot a bit where they want to have their Ghost of Tsushima, their God of Wars, but they also
Oh,
want to be able to
yes.
offer something else too, especially now that Call of Duty isn't as secure as it once was, even though the new Call of Duty is going to be launching with exclusive content on PlayStation coming up this year. Um, so yeah, sorry, it wasn't Horizon Zero Dawn. It was the Last of Us multiplayer game. Thank you, Puddle Jumper. The Last of Us multiplayer game was shut down by Bungie. That was supposedly in the works for a while, and Bungie was just like, this isn't good, basically. So PlayStation is trying to make something like that work. They need to bring back PlayStation All Stars. That's what I think.
I wonder what's the actual player. How is Ultimate still even doing good? They haven't released a new character in such a long time, but I meant like, is there still an online player base thing?
There's not really any good data to come
No,
and look at,
they wouldn't
but
release it either.
like that's the thing. It doesn't need to be like that game sold extremely well. Like that game sold how many copies?
Yeah, but I meant, yeah, I know you jokingly said All Stars, but it's
Yeah.
just kind of like that's not going to be their multiplayer
Sure.
moneymaker.
So it sold 30 million copies. So that means 30 million homes have it. It's probably being played still.
Yeah,
It's still getting updates according to KMax in the chat, so it's still getting
just not
balances and all
characters.
that stuff, just not new characters. Which does bring up an interesting conversation of like player count doesn't matter now that they made all that money, right?
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, so I don't know what Sony's gonna do. Like, I do think they're in a strong position right now. They're the market leader at the moment for consoles, at least, but that could change very quickly by the end of this generation. But I also think Sony just needs to keep doing what they're doing. They just got to keep innovating on their rich IPs, and they need to do more with those IPs, TV shows, all that stuff too. I think that can only benefit them as well. I
double
think
dipping.
double dip to get that dilly bar action. You know what I mean? You know what a dilly bar is?
I think so. I was just thinking about the Twisted Metal series came out while we were on a hiatus. Did you watch it?
I watched 2 episodes. I
You
like it.
watched 2 episodes.
I liked it so far. It's good.
Um, yeah, I was just gonna binge it all when it came out on my like free NBC pass or something.
Yeah. Have you watched it yet? No.
No, I've said I'm gonna binge it all when it's all out,
Okay. Interesting.
but I'm interested.
Father Trek, he brings up an interesting point. There's a new game coming out called Concord, which is a PvP multiplayer from Firewalk Studios coming
Count
to
me
PS5
out.
and PC. So this is a good point. A lot of these games that are Sony developed multiplayer games are gonna definitely have a PC version simply for needing a large player base. So Dad Dallies understand. Oh, Dad Dailies. Dilly bars. I want a dilly bar now. All right. That's really it for news. So did they announce a release date for this PlayStation Portal?
No, I don't think so.
No. With rumored release date in November.
I was gonna say fall or holiday season.
Yeah, man. I'm curious at that price point. It's as high as it could go. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I might give it a run for its money and try to test it out. That Nintendo stock's been doing well for me lately.
Mm.
All right. So with that chat, Alex, let's transition to this conversation of 2023, the year in gaming. Before I continue, Just in your perspective overall, like, you know, what has been your thoughts about 2023 as a gaming year? Like, have you been pretty happy with it? You know, have you
I have
been
been
okay? What have been your highlights so far?
16, and I wish I wrote everything down. I wish I wrote everything down. 16's fresh. Oh gosh, I mean Tears of the Kingdom, obviously, but there's like a whole first half of the year so far that I'm forgetting. 16 really kind of blew that out, and I'm waiting for Spider-Man.
Yeah, there's a lot of good games. So yeah, for me, it's like Dead Space remake, Resident Evil 4 remake, Diablo 4, Star Wars Jedi Survivor, Tears of the Kingdom. Those
Jedi
are
Survivor.
yeah,
Yeah.
those have been great games. So there's about 20,000, 19,000 games in this data sheet. And I basically just did a count if formula, and I tried to cut the data up in a few different ways. So it's all pointing at these years, right? This is one of the data keys, the years 96 to 2023. And I try to look at it as, you know, how many games in the 90s does that year have? How many games in the 80s does that year have? How many games in the 80s and up does that year have? How many games in the top 500 all time does that year have? Top 250 of all time, top 100 of all time, top 50, top 25, and top 10. So those are just some of the ways I wanted to cut it up. Now, starting off, like 2023 is at the bottom, and then there's some conditional formatting. So what you see in column F and G here, column G is the actual count of games in the 90s, and then column F is the rank for that year. So like the number one year for games in the 90s is 2003. 2003 had 38 games rated 90 or more. Um, so that's just an example. So if I look starting off here in the right, total games in the top 10. This is 98, 99, 2000. This is, I should have done a little column crawl over there. Come on, Mark. 2008 has a lot on the top 10, has two.
Can you pin the left bar or no?
I
Or
could do
assign
that.
the
Yeah,
leftmost?
I could do that actually. That's not, I was just
I
thinking
think
of
it's
that.
under view at the top.
Yep. So freeze paint. Where you at? Where you at? Where you at? Where you at? Yeah, there we go. There we go.
Oh, look at that.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
On oh, I just saw the chat.
So 2021 has two games in the top 10. So that's just some exclusive look. So there's nothing in 2023 so far, 2022. In fact, I think Baldur's Gate 3 was in the top 10, but recently fell out as it got more reviews. But the most interesting metric to me in terms of having this conversation is we're talking about quality and quantity. When we say to me, this is how I lay it out, Alex, let me know what you feel about this. If we say 2023 has been one of the best years for gaming, we're talking about the quality of the games that have come out, but also when I say we're feasting like kings, there's just been a lot of good games too.
Mm-hmm.
So if we look at total games in the 90s that have come out this year, right now there's 19 that have come out in 2023. All right. That puts it 15th place overall. But we're not done yet, right? We have Armored Core 6, which is starting to get reviews. It's in the high 80s at the moment. We have Spider-Man 2. We have Starfield. Like we have Super Mario Wonder. We have the Super Mario RPG remake. One of those Mario games is going to get 90 or above. Like there's still a lot of games, and like all we need to do for 2023 to go from 15th to a freaking 10th or more is to just get one or two more games in the 90s, which I think is very feasible given Spider-Man. Like Spider-Man 2 to me is kind of shoo-in. You know, that formula is tried and true. So, and that's kind of how I think about it when I look at that metric. What do you think, Alex?
What about us getting this year into the top 10?
Like, do you think there are going to be a few more games in the 90s this year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't think we're going to get to 25. It would be nice if it was still June and we're at 19, but
Yeah. So to that point, if we look at games in the 80s and 90s, it's actually pretty low. 8 games 80s and up all time. It's in 20th place.
2018 was when the God of War remake came out. That was a good year as well. I mean, we're seeing it here, but I thought
Yeah.
2018 was the one that was the prior argument.
2017, 2018, and 2019 might be some of the best years in gaming
Dude,
overall.
they were on such a streak, and then
Yeah.
pandemic.
Well,
Now we're cleaning up the trash.
So that's a really good point. I'm glad you brought that up. Is that 2020 happens, and you see 2020's fourth all time in terms of games in the 80s and 90s, right? But that pandemic starts to have an effect.
Those were games that were made in the years prior.
Exactly. That development was in 6 years or before, years prior. So we're now seeing the desert effect of the pandemic and the games that are coming out now. But the fact that we still have this for games in the top 500, it's in the top 10. So top 500 games of all time according to Metacritic, 19 of them came out this year. So like again, what is the right objective way to qualify the answer here? I don't know, but I think that's also important too. Um, I won't be surprised if we get 4 more games that rank very, very high. I don't know what Starfield's gonna do. I hope it's good. It could be bad, you know. Um, Spider-Man 2, I think is pretty much locked in. I think the only thing that could hurt Spider-Man 2 is that it's going to still be that formula. Like you really can't innovate too much on it, you know. It's all about the story. Uh, Mortal Kombat 1, that game plays great. I played the beta. So yeah, there's a lot more games that are still coming out. 2023 definitely isn't over by any means. And yeah, I don't know what's gonna happen. See, let me do a quick Google search here. Top remaining games in 2023.
No, I think you listed them. I mean, even when you think of games in 2023, we can't even remember as far back as February, which is when Hogwarts Legacy came out, and that game sold like hotcakes. But we always forget about it when we try to remember like what even happened this year because it's been so long.
That's a good point. We're not talking about sales. Sales alone, this might be one of the better years. But yeah, you're right. Like Octopath Traveler 2 came out this year.
Yeah, and so did Wolong, like 2 games that I really enjoyed, given the content, but I completely forgot about them because 16 has ate up so much of my time.
Final Fantasy
Not even
16.
time, literally bandwidth as far as like gaming experience this year.
Yeah. So here are the major games that I haven't mentioned. So Mortal Kombat 1, Lies of P, Payday 3, Assassin's Creed Mirage, which I could care less about. The setting and the story seem interesting, but I don't want to play another Assassin's Creed game. Forza Motorsport. It seems to be people that like those types of racing games are excited about it. Alan Wake 2, that could be a sleeper hit. Alan Wake 2 is a game. Yeah. Alan Wake 2 is a game that a lot of people are hyped for. They're not doing a physical release, which makes some collectors sad, but that game to me seems like the first one was great. It's Luigi's Mansion, but with guns, Alex. I'd really think you'd like it.
Yeah, I don't like getting scared.
Lords of the Fallen, I'm very excited about. Have you seen anything more about the combat system?
Yeah, it looks way crazier.
Yeah.
I'm going to get that game.
Same here.
As long as it doesn't end up on arrival with the same gripes as the first, or its source material, which was a game that released years ago of the same name.
Yeah, I would hope not, considering they rebooted it because of that. Because it just stumbled. So it's gonna have online co-op. So sweet. We can play that together.
Did you see Ubisoft is not making a sequel for?
Oh, that makes me sad. Well, so I didn't really care at first for Immortals Phoenix Rising.
Yes.
So I didn't care, but then did you see what the sequel was in the scope to be like?
They could say like, yo, we were gonna bring in Cappy with Super Mario Odyssey and use the technology for Tetris effects, and everyone would be like, oh my gosh. But for them to just say, they could say whatever they want about what they're like. They could have made this announcement in October, and they could be like, yeah, we were gonna just remake it with pretty much the same exact thing as Spider-Man 2 mixed with the storytelling of Octopath Traveler, and everybody like, oh my god. Because what they did say is it was gonna, whereas that was a direct ripoff of pretty much Breath of the Wild, this one was going to be more in the same vein as Elden Ring and something else.
Wind Waker, which is like one of my favorite Zelda games ever. So that
So
actually
they
made
just
me
pretty much
sad.
they said out loud that they're copying another game, but this
Yeah.
one they're not even continuing with.
Yeah.
But no, that game was perfectly passable, and it was okay. You like Breath of the Wild? Well, here's another game, and we do more with it, and it was just more fun. It was just a little bit more faster pace and showy.
Sure. It
So
was it was Breath of
it
the
was
Wild mixed
perfectly
with the
passable.
Ubisoft formula, right? For open world games.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But without all the bugs and stuff that usually comes with the Ubisoft game. I didn't have much problems with that game.
That's
But
good.
it was a perfectly passable game that I just like platinum as fast as possible and was like, okay, cool. I'm glad I tried it.
Yeah.
I'm glad I gave it a shot, and I think it's because you did, because I heard the trailers and I heard the voice acting. I was like, this just sounds cheesy, and just like, why is no one saying, hey, we should write better stuff? But
Yeah.
yeah, you made me play it, and I really liked it.
Yeah, it was
Which
it had its own kind of charm. It wasn't trying to
yeah,
be like
it
a
was a different kind of
Godfather
charm.
or like a Capella film or whatever, but it was good. Scorsese film, I should say. So yeah, that's a bummer, but okay, so back to the remaining releases. Alan Wake 2, Marvel's Spider-Man 2, which again, going to be good. Super Mario Brothers Wonder, Metal Gear Solid Master Collection. I don't think that's going to do great. People are already upset about it. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. Who knows? Um, yeah, Super Mario RPG Remake. And then the Avatar Frontiers of Pandora game. I
Is
don't
that a
know.
VR?
No, it's basically Far Cry but Avatar.
Oh, really?
You got interested there. So that's kind
Yeah.
of how so this is a game that's been in the works
Yo,
for
in
a very
Far
long.
Cry, you gotta like fix your wounds, and I just imagine some Navi throwing like their telephone pole spears at you, and you're just like trying to get that thing out of you.
Well, you are gonna be a Navi as well. So
Oh, okay, I didn't know. Okay.
yeah.
I
And
thought you
then
were gonna go in and out of the avatar. I thought that was the whole point.
no, you're I don't know the full story. I don't know if it's in between the two movies or not. But those are all the games that have set in release dates. And then there's all these other games with release windows. Hades 2 is supposed to have a release window in
Whoa.
2023. Early access, so that would
No.
be PC. But that's gonna get reviewed even if it is early access. Warhammer Space Marine 2 is the game that I think is gonna be my sleeper hit. Like I am just so excited about that game. You've seen the video for it, right?
Yeah,
Oh my gosh, that's another game that will be co-op and that'd be
that was
awesome.
co-op. I want to play it.
It is co-op. It's 100% co-op.
Oh, Remnant 2 came out. I
Remnant
was
2
playing
did
that
come
a
out.
lot. That was like a majority of in between Final Fantasy and then me relapsing to Final Fantasy. I played and beat Remnant 2.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I
So
forgot all
where
about
does
that.
that stand in your Soulsborne games?
I don't. Oh man, I know it's Soulsborne. I don't put lump those together with those. It's not medieval combat kind of thing,
Yeah.
That's less soul. Ah, gosh, jeez. That's just as Soulsborne as like Jedi Fallen, Survivor, and Order. Like yeah, they're pulling some elements from it, but it's really. I don't think they're the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a lot of random procedural generation in that too. Like it's really not like Soulsborne to me. I get that the enemies are tough and the bosses are that, but it has a formula. But it's so different from those other games. I wouldn't lump them in there with it.
Gotcha. Okay. And so yeah,
It's I still had more fun with Outriders actually. I did have more fun with Outriders.
Outriders is good. I hope that game gets a sequel.
Outriders wasn't
I don't think it
like
is.
it was
Yeah.
almost laughable sometimes, the cutscenes and everything and the dialogue, but the gameplay of Outriders was actually better than Remnant 2, but I still liked Remnant 2 for what it was.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the Outriders sequel is probably dead in the water, it seems like. So there's that.
I think they're still fixing bugs from launch.
Makes me sad. That was cool. That had a cool story. Like that was doing something
It had
cool, I
cool,
think.
yeah, it had a cool story like premise, and it
Yeah.
had good gameplay, but man, it was one of the most buggiest games I've ever played in my life, and they had horrible balancing issues at endgame and stuff like that. Like they advertised this extensive endgame when it was about to be released and everything, and then it just all kind of it seems so hollow compared to what they advertised. But yeah,
Gotcha. So, I guess to me, this list only goes between 96 to now, right? This is not all gaming ever. This doesn't get us into the 80s with Nintendo and all that stuff for the Sega Master System. So I think when I look at like the actual list of games in the 90s, there are a lot of games you and I have like never heard of or touched, like weird games, like Tales games and just like super anime stuff that only Naruto fans probably like. But then there's the real popular ones as well. So what's gonna happen if we get 4 more games or 5 more games that are in the 90s in this year? We could say since 96, this is one of the top 10 years of gaming of all time, which is notable. And to have so
Yeah.
many games in the top 500 too, like at that point, that's going to put it up pretty high in that perspective as well. So it is almost like it's been a pretty good year for quality and quantity. Like we've gotten a lot of good stuff. Um, we've also gotten, in my opinion, I think maybe started to see the end of the games as a service model being dominant a little bit. Like
Yeah.
there's a lot of
I was gonna
players that are getting sick of that. I feel like too. Um,
namely, I was gonna make a joke that like, dude, we would already be in the top 10 if Justice League had launched on time, which I think was
oh,
supposed to be August. And then you mentioned that's what I was happy about when that launched. Everyone was just like, cool, the same thing I always do, but now it's a shark. Everyone there was outcry about like this just looks like cookie cutter copy of everything that's already out there and nothing new. You gave
yeah.
everyone a gun and make everyone jump. Cool,
Yep.
cool. And there was enough. They're saying that they're not changing anything, but yeah, we'll see what they try to pass when they do another trailer in January and push the launch even further, and it's different.
Yeah,
But yeah,
WB Games, I just feel bad
fall
for.
from grace. Yeah,
Yeah, they need money, and if their game like Multiverses is a weird story. Like I don't know if that game's gonna come back or not. Um, but that game was on top of the world. But how they wanted to monetize it, like I think if Multiverses sold for $10 a copy, it never would have shut down because it never would have had to have reworked it to make more microtransactions because there were so many active players that they would have made their money. Like they would have been sitting fine, but they had this very specific monetization strategy that I think hurt them. But I also think it's because capital wise, WB Games doesn't have any strength. Where Microsoft could put a game out like Halo that has very consumer friendly battle passes and all that stuff, and it could just be okay for a few years. It doesn't have to change the world, but it's not going anywhere, right?
yeah.
Um, it's interesting. That's it. 2023. Is it the best year in gaming? It's a
Not yet.
not yet. Very well could be. It very well could be. We could be blown away. I'm excited for Armored Core Alex. That comes out next week as well. I'm getting that on PlayStation 5. That comes out
The
tomorrow.
Rubicon.
Yeah, that comes out tomorrow. My copy will be here Monday. So we could talk more about that next week. And I don't know if you plan on picking it up or not, but
What?
Armored Core 6.
I'm gonna wait for see what happens.
Okay, reviews are out now, so you should take a look and see what you see.
Okay.
Okay. I'm gonna win the Super Bowl with the Steelers at some point this weekend, and then I might return that game.
Yes. Do
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Do it.
I really hope NHL's better.
Nope.
I
It's already
just
poorly reviewed.
NHL's not even out yet. There's no reviews for that.
Oh, I'm thinking of 23. I was gonna pick up 23 because I keep seeing it on there, and they're like, no, this is worse than 22, which we considered the worst.
Yeah.
They're really trying to do the absolute bare minimum year to year, and sometimes even trimming things from the year before for no reason, just to get another game on the shelf. It's so no competition.
You know, and it's interesting because there's been some good things released from EA as well on
Yeah,
top of that. So
Star Wars.
it's just it's Star Wars, gosh, Dead Space. I mentioned that already. And like Dead Space is one of the it's a fantastic game. I would love to see you play that. There's the new Dragon Age game in the works. I don't know what's going to happen there. I've never played a Dragon Age game, and I'm thinking about playing Dragon Age 2.
That's the
Uh,
only one I played.
is it good?
I didn't like that it was like I thought it was all open world. So when it was kind of like here, explore this linear area, and then we're gonna like teleport to another little linear area, I like fell off it pretty quick because it was right around the same time I think as Skyrim, and I was just wanting that open world aspect,
Mm,
and I
interesting.
didn't get it.
That came out in 2011, as did Red Dead Redemption and a lot of other games, to
And
the point
Skyrim.
where 2011 has 31 games in the top 500, which is number one. So
There
2011
you go.
represents a majority of the games in the top 500. Now, a lot of that it comes down to this is Metacritic data, and Metacritic will list Skyrim for every console.
Hmm.
So it's, Skyrim's probably counted twice. And that's for all the data. I wasn't going to try to scrub it for some years and then keep it that way for others. All the data is representative of that. So even if we fixed it, it should still pair out to be the same ranking wise for every year. So anyways, that's it's been a good year. It's been a good year so far. I'm looking forward to the
Good
fall.
year.
Starfield, I don't know what's going to
Starfield.
happen. Alex, if Starfield comes out, I'm just curious. If Starfield comes out and it's just like, this
And
is
no
the
one
most,
says it's a buggy mess from Bethesda again.
if Starfield comes out and they say this is the most polished Bethesda game ever released, and it's a mix of Skyrim and Mass Effect, that's just like considered to be it's well received. Okay, that's the bar. Does this make you go, maybe I dropped $200 on a Series S?
Maybe.
You could buy a PlayStation Portal, or you could buy a Series S and get Halo too,
That's
and Game
true.
Pass,
I'm
and
not
Game
playing.
Pass.
Okay. That would have been better timing like 2 years ago when I'm not about to have a child. But no, Victor's like, dude, should we pitch in and just get a PC to like be able to play this? And I was like, well, no, because that's like $1,500 and you got to constantly upgrade it every year. But no, just a Series S would be awesome for that. That'd be a lot cheaper.
It would be a lot cheaper.
It's well received, dude. If people are just like, if there's like random YouTube videos of like playing not Flight of the Bumblebee, the Benny Hill music of all the bugs and glitches of Starfield. Yeah. And it's Starfield footage of just because Bethesda released the game. That's what I'm expecting.
Yeah.
For the first like 3 to 4 weeks.
Yeah. So the interesting thing from the versions of the games that have been out in the wild, it's already like 1.6 or something like that, which is a pretty high release, which is just means it's had lots of patches so far, and it's been gold for a while. So from a developer perspective, it seems to be at least here's what I can say. There's still a lot of things hush hush on the game. The people that are playing the game, there's been one jerk who went viral on Twitter complaining about the menu screen. I don't know if you heard about this.
I heard about that.
Yeah.
The home screen that first comes up, like get the.
He's just like, listen,
I don't know how he wasn't immediately shut up by everyone, and why that even went viral.
Because social media, yeah, social media, YouTube, everything does better with yeah. This is the wrong timeline. That reminds me of a joke I might tell you one time. But yeah, so that went super viral, and he's just like, I could tell you they put no time into this game because that the menu wasn't even thought of. I'm like, some of the best menus of all time are just press A to start, and there's just good music.
Counterpoint: they spent more time making the game than they gave a shit about the menu, so it's kind of like,
yeah,
like.
So to me, I've seen people get upset like, because like, you're saying this game is good. You shouldn't say that. You shouldn't say anything they put out is good because Microsoft is a monopoly. And it's just like, okay, hold on. If the game's good, the game's good.
Yeah.
That's all I care about. So I don't know. Like, I want the game to be good. I might hate it. I wasn't crazy about Skyrim personally.
I want it to be good because I want it to be, a Bethesda game, but with Mass Effect elements. Like, I would love that. But I have no faith in this developer.
You've been let down and hurt. What you need is a big burly man like me to come down there and hold you in my arms and rock you to sleep.
I just need Starfield to do it, but
even better. All right, well, I'm not flying over this weekend then anymore, so I'll take that back. Alex, should we tell the fun lovers and listeners of this show the story one day about how the three of us ended up having to share a bed in New York City?
No, we won't.
Okay. So chat, if you want to do that, you're going to have to donate $5,000. I'm kidding. That's a story for another time. It's not weird. It's funny though. My wife was just like, funny. I'm not surprised. Did Joy know that story?
I don't know. I think so. I think I told her once and she didn't really listen. And then when you brought it up again, she was like, nah, I don't think I heard that before. It's just funny, the random elements that make up that story. It's not just a thing. It's just
Unsolved Mysteries,
so random,
Two-Door Cinema Club, Rochester, New York, and a very, very strange hotel.
Foreign exchange students.
Hole in the wall. Yeah. One of them was from Malta. That's all I remember.
Yeah. The hole in the wall was like the size of a raccoon, not an eye hole.
Yeah, but it was still giving us like Bates Motel vibes.
There were still eyes looking at us. But
yeah, there's some guy waving, eating a Subway sub. Like, you guys want some of my cold cuts?
No, it's horrible food.
All right,
Yeah.
Alex,
What else?
sign us off. This has been good. We're back next Thursday, right?
Yeah, we can do that. I didn't know if you're gonna do it this every week or every 2 weeks.
We're gonna go hard. It's the fall time. We're not on the summer hiatus anymore. There's no more vacations up. We're not Europeans. We only get 2 weeks. So
All right, everyone. It's hot out there.
for you, yeah.
Yeah, there is no staying warm. We need to stop with that. We made it. We had a good stretch of stay warm, stay cool, but no more staying warm. It's too much fire. It's too much smoke, and 100-degree water in the Gulf. Everyone, just stay cool and stay hydrated. There you go.
That was actually well done this time. I like the pivot there.
This is for the first time ever.
First time ever executed live on television. Thank you all, everyone. Love you all. God bless. Have a fantastic week and weekend. We'll be back next week with more gaming news and Alex with a longer beard, hopefully. Catch you on the flip.